G'day folks, and welcome to this playthrough of Free at Last, The Struggle for Equality. This is I think it's a 2002 design by Ted Torgerson and Damon Stone. You may know Ted. He was the lead designer of 1989 Dawn of Freedom, which is a card-driven game very similar to Twilight Struggle. Borrows some mechanical elements from Hannibal Rome versus Carthage. So he originally designed a similar game back in 2006, and Damon Stone sort of was inspired by that and kind of led the development of this latest edition in 2002, which is quite different to the 2006 edition. This is published by the Dietz Foundation, and I need to say right off the bat, this has one of the lowest Board Game Geek ratings for any board game I've ever seen. It is currently rated at 4.4 out of 10. You need a lot of negative ratings to get that low. The main reason for that is this rulebook. It raises a lot of questions. The background to this is that apparently the files were sent through to the publisher to edit, and they didn't do much to edit it. So it's a very brief rulebook. It doesn't really cover a lot of the questions that are asked over the course of the game. So I have got, well, I've printed off a revised rulebook. I think Damon provided this. It's on Board Game Geek. It does a little bit better, still raises a lot of questions. Beneath all this though, beneath the rules is a relatively light to medium complexity game with a lot of kind of procedural hiccups, can I say. Let me run you through and I'll kind of explain things as I go, but first you need to know that it is very likely that I will get things wrong. Be prepared for mistakes. I will make rules errors as I go for various reasons. So I'll check the comments below. Please be advised that that is very likely to happen. Okay, so we are at the second turn. I've played through one turn. I am playing two-handed. So I've got SNCC, the Student Non-Violent Coordinating Committee on my left, and CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality on my right. This is a cooperative game, so I'm playing two-handed cooperatively. My goal is, what is my goal? To complete civil rights projects in the South. I have one project ongoing. At the start of each turn, I draw projects equal to the number of vacant, so it should be basically number of players plus one. So I've got one in progress, so I believe, if I understand this correctly, that I draw two more projects. One is the Selma Marches in Alabama, and the South Carolina Williamsburg County voter, that should be gone, registration. Okay, so this is sort of, it doesn't really matter. The board doesn't really matter, but they go in the states technically, like so. Now what am I looking at here? Okay, this project's underway. I won't sort of cover that, but I've got two potential projects. Projects are either labeled S, A, or V, and they do refer to three different types of projects. An accommodation project. I can't remember what the A stands for, but basically they are, you work on them in different ways. Basically by playing cards from your hand, and here's sort of my card, here's the SNCC card hand down here, and here's the CORE hand. You play cards from your hand either of the same number, of the same color, or in a numerical sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know that V is going to be of the same number, and that might suit, so green SNCC is involved in a project, right? So they're committed here. CORE is not yet involved, but they've already got 2 3s in their hand. And I know that V requires the same card. So what I'm going to do is say, all right, CORE is going to pursue Williamsburg County voter registration, meaning I can discard this other project. I won't be pursuing that. I could have also dove into a bit more detail and looked at the consequences. So this is a 3-stage project. Okay, it's going to be tough. This is only a 2-stage project, but it's quite a big first stage. And I just lost. These guys just failed in a project last turn. So I kind of, this, it's not that much more difficult, but look, let's see. What are the other consequences? Okay, if I play a blue 1, I remove 2 white cubes. And if I play 4 or fewer cards to this, the white number is doubled. That's not good. This is a good thing. This is a bad thing. Conversely, on this card, if I play a white card, I remove 2 white cubes. If I play a 3 value card, I pick the lowest white dice. And if I play 3 or fewer cards, I add 2 blue cubes. Looking at that, I'm thinking this one might actually be a better option because I don't like the idea of being able to play 4 or fewer cards, adding double the white number. That's going to be quite punishing. So in fact, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to go with the Selma marches in Alabama. That's going to be Core's focus. SNCC is already involved in a project. Core is now focusing on the Selma marches. That's my commitment. So, project phase. We're in the first phase, the project phase of the game. We reveal these project cards. So we've got school, S is school desegregation, A is accommodation, V is voter registration. So this is an accommodation project. All right, these are historical figures. As I said, the ones at the top tend to be beneficial, the ones down the bottom tend to be punitive. We'll get to that later on. There are 2 stages in this, so it needs to be addressed one at a time. This is a 3-stage project. I completed the first stage, and now I've got stage 2 and stage 3 to complete one at a time. And this is my commitment. This is what the resources I've committed. So I'm heavily committed to this project. I was quite lucky in getting a good commitment level. I've got 3 leaders over here because it's a 3-stage project. I'll talk about that in a moment as well. Now, I move leader tokens from my reserve area to the organization board. So I get to pick one of the SNCC leaders. I'm going to pick another V project leader. And Core gets to pick a leader as well. They're going to an A, so I'm going to pick an A project leader. Basically what this leader does is if I invest in working on an A project, I add 2 red commitment cubes to that project. So I like that idea of getting 2 free commitment cubes. This demonstrates, red cubes demonstrate my commitment to these civil rights projects. Finally, I get the strategy card deck and I fill my hand back up to 6 cards. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got 6 each. These are the 2 cards left over, 2 cards and 3 cards left over from the first turn. All right, we can now, okay, so here it is, here's the rules. These cards require the same color. So let's see what I've got here. I've got some white cards, 4 blue cards. So I'm very well set up to play blue cards. And I can play 4 blue cards here to avoid the Alabama State Police. So we're looking at 3 different categories here. Red is my commitment. It's my commitment to the civil rights movement, which I've explained. Blue cubes represent systematic resistance. They tend to be in the form of police or mayors or authorities that are trying to stop or they oppose the civil rights movement. The white box is social resistance. This represents society's resistance to the civil rights movement. So in summary, red cubes, good for me. Blue and white cubes, bad for me. Red track, good for me. Blue and white track, bad for me. So as you can see, I'm off to a bad start. Things are going bad because I failed a project on the first turn. Okay, so what else? So V projects, okay, A projects, sorry. 2 or more cards of the same color. So I'm well set up to play 4 blue cards, for example. I'm going to kind of explain a lot of the rules as I go along. Yeah. So I have completed the project phase. We are now at the commitment and resistance phase. I can now mobilize my organization to work on completing a project. To do this, I play the set of cards as required. Okay, so we always start with SNCC, their first player, second player. They are looking to play cards of the same number. And just looking at this, I note that I've got 3 2 cards. Okay, so I've already completed, this is my phase 1. I believe I can start a second sequence now. And I believe I can play these 3 cards. I can't play this is my organization card. It's been played in the first phase. So what I'm planning to do is play 3 more 2 cards in the second phase. Oh, actually, I could do this. If I play so the special abilities here are, if I play a blue 1, I remove a white cube. If I play a 3, you need to play at least 2 cards. If I play a 3, I roll the red dice twice and pick the highest one. If I play 3 or fewer cards, I roll the blue die twice and have to pick the higher one, which is bad. If I play a blue 1, I roll the... Okay, so I don't want to do that. I'm happy with this decision to play 3 2 cards. Over here, I am looking at the silver marches, and I can play 4 blue cards. Okay. So I'm not playing 3 or less, so I avoid the Alabama State Police penalty. I am playing a 3 value card, so I roll the white dice. When it comes to rolling the white dice, I'll roll that twice and pick the lower result, which is definitely good for me. I didn't play a white card, so I don't get that benefit up the top there. Okay, so that is my mobilization. I then place 3 commitment cubes per card played. So you want to be able to play as many cards as possible to suit the requirements. So I've got 3 there, 3 there, 3 there. Okay, this demonstrates my commitment by playing these cards from my hand. I've kind of exhausted my hand, but that's a big commitment to these issues. Oh, where are my leaders? I believe, do I add my leaders now? I think I add my leaders now. Yes, so this is an A project, so I commit my Elton Cox leader. When he works on an A project, he gets 2 cubes, but I'll resolve that in a minute. Okay. If the project card, challenge cards, or any cards in hand have effects that alter, just checking when the order of these things. So if a project card, challenge cards, or any cards in hand have effects that alter the result of commitment cubes to be placed, resolve these now. So now, I believe, because my leader matches the type, it's an A project, I add 2 more commitment cubes for him. Oh, I believe I should do this as well. So this is still in effect. My leaders, if it's a V project, yes, I double. So this will happen later on. These don't add cubes right away. They affect the dice roll, which will happen in just a moment. Now we get to the resistance phase, and I add the blue and white cubes and roll both of the resistance dice. Okay, so the cubes have already been added. This is stage 2, this is stage 3. Here I need to add cubes, so I need 2 blue cubes for stage 1, plus 3 white, and I add for stage 2, what will be coming up, I've been putting these out, is 1 blue, 2 white. So these are the barriers that I'm encountering and that I need to overcome in each stage. Now, starting with Sec and their project over here, I roll these dice. So I get a 3, that's horrific. Okay, so is there anything mitigating this? 3 or less, I roll the blue dice twice, that's a 4 and an X, which is a 4. Pick the highest one, which is 4, and I add 4 blue cubes. That's pretty nasty, let me tell you. There is nothing affecting the white dice, so I add 3 white cubes. And this is a lot of cubes to add to that section. Now, I believe I go over here and they do the same thing. We roll a blue and a white. I get 1 blue, which is not so bad. Is there anything modified? So because I played a 3, I roll the white dice twice. X corresponds to the value here, which is 3. So it would be 3 or 3. Well, looks like it's going to be 3. So 3 white cubes are added up there. Okay. Now we skip to the direct action phase. And this is where I'll attempt to mitigate these cubes and complete projects. So there are 3 steps to this: mutual aid, we shall overcome, and reprisal. Starting with Snick, they can play a mutual aid card to increase red cubes. So randomly assign a leader and add 1 to my project. If another player has selected a V project, no. Add 1 to a V project. If played for the event by another player, add 1 commitment cube. Let's do that. So I'm going to play this event card. It's add 1 commitment cube to a V project if played for the event by another player. Instead of discarding this card, it goes to the SL. We don't have an SLC player, so that's discarded. Over here for the rest of the game, blah, blah, blah. After the reprisal on a project with a thing, so after the reprisal here, for example, with at least 1 blue, roll and resolve the red dice. Again, you collect any blue cubes. All right, I'm going to play this. This is sort of an ongoing, after the reprisal. Oh, well, I'll play it as a response after the reprisal, so I'll hold on to that. It's not played now. That's a mutual aid, and I could have played cards to affect other projects ongoing. So Snick could have played a card to affect the Selma marches that Core is involved in. Now we move to the We Shall Overcome. I roll the commitment die, so Snick goes first. They roll this commitment die. It's a 2. It is doubled to 4, plus 2, plus 2, which is a total of 8 commitment cubes. This is because I've got so many leaders. Oh, if I played a white card, I did not play a white card, so it's a V project, so they're not relevant. V project, and I played a blue card, so I actually get plus 6 commitment cubes in this area. In fact, I get to roll because I played no, I didn't play a 3 value card. I didn't play a 3 value card. I played 3 or less. I think I've resolved that. That's it. Starting with the active player, each player may trigger abilities, play strategy cards from the hand to affect the active project or anything else. I don't think I'm going to do anything else. Collect seg cubes, blue and white cubes, equal to the modified result of the red dice. Okay, so I don't add red cubes, I remove 6. So I start with white cubes, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I add them to my board over here, and then 1 blue cube. If there are no seg cubes left, I've cleared the stage. If my modified die result would have allowed, I didn't clear more than I needed. And then I go over to reprisal. If the current stage has not been passed, count the seg cubes remaining. So there are 7 cubes remaining in the current stage, which means I have to remove 7 commitment cubes. Oh, these should move up as well. Okay, so I've got a lot of commitment cubes up here. Oh, geez, it's tough to complete these projects. If the last red cube is ever removed, the project fails, and that's what happened last turn. Now I can try again. I can go back to mutual aid, roll the commitment die, apply any modifiers. I'm grinding down blue, so I might actually try to do that. So I'm going to, first of all though, we go over here. So we've got to take it in turns. So they now roll the commitment die, which is the red dice. It's a 1. So I remove 1 white cube. Here is my commitment. I can play cards to do things. So I'm holding this because this is a response to a reprisal. So after a reprisal, there are 5, 6, 7, 8. I should be removing 8 cubes from here. After a reprisal on a project with this symbol, with at least 1 blue, roll and resolve. So I remove these. After a reprisal, I roll this again. It's an X. Oh no, my X value is actually 0 at the moment. Applying all modifiers, I collect any blue cubes. So that had no effect at all. Okay, coming back to this side of the board, Snick. I can continue. I roll the commitment die, 0. I don't know if it says apply the modifiers. So I may get these modifiers again. So 4, 5, 6, I remove 6 cubes and I lose 1 in the reprisal. That's it. Heading over here, I don't want to risk it because if I roll poorly, I'll have to remove 7 cubes and I'll fail. So I'm going to pass this stage. Okay, it's going to continue next turn. Coming back over to this next turn, they are going to roll again. It's a 1. We remove 1 cube and we have passed that stage, that phase, sorry. So we're moving on to the last phase on this project. It's not complete this turn, but we're done for now. Reprisal is complete. They've passed, they now passed. So we get to the final recovery phase. We haven't fulfilled a loss condition. We haven't completed any projects yet, so we don't have to worry about victory. We remove all cards that don't have an ongoing effect or are not part of a set for a continuing project. Now, these are parts of sets for continuing projects, so I think we leave them there. All leaders assigned to completed or failed projects are removed. They're not completed yet, so the leaders remain in place. Now we adjust die tracks. For each completed project, no. For each failed project, no. For each project that was not completed but did not fail, move the systematic resistance 1 to the right, and we do the same. Oh no, count each project that has more seg cubes than red cubes here, and move the counter forward 2 spaces for each of those projects. So social resistance is quite high. Now we get to legislation. Now, unfortunately, I can skip this pretty much entirely. I do have, play with a that was in place last turn. It would now cost me 2, what are they called? 2 freedom markers, which I gain by completing projects to put a new legislation into play. So for example, I would draw 2 legislation, I would look at them, pick one, I may be able to afford it, I can't at the moment, so I believe they're just discarded. And that's the end of a round. So that's a pretty typical turn. As you can see, gameplay revolves around picking a project. Each player picks a project, they invest their leaders in that project, and then they have to play cards from their hand to meet the requirements of that particular type of project. This is a V project requiring numbers, this is an A project requiring colors, and the S project requires a sequence. You do that, you throw your commitment cubes at a project, you try to roll well and use your leader bonuses to reduce sort of opposition. Ultimately, I think I'll be able to complete this turn. You complete a project, you get a star, and your aim is, the aim of the game is to complete a number of projects. I believe it's equal to the player count plus 1. I think I'm still a long way off doing that, but I believe that's what I'm ultimately striving for. Oh no, actually, when a project succeeds, the commitment of an organization will spill over to the March on Washington over here. This will start to fill up, and I need to get to Washington. That will then bring the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act to the floor of Congress, and I'll then need to pass these somehow, but I don't know exactly how they work out. I've then got 2 turns to complete the passing of these acts to try to win the game. All right, look, as I said, it's very likely that in that explanation I've made a mistake. Apologies in advance. As I said, the rulebook isn't great, but there you go, folks. That is Free at Last by Dietz Foundation. Thanks, everyone.